look at the ingredients in like a cereal here versus the UK.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. But yes,
For real, yeah, dude.
country's-
Our ingredient list is this.
So I was going to try
And
and
then-
avoid conspiracy theories tonight, but this country's trying to kill us. Every single thing.
Here he goes.
It's time for Choo Choo with Jay Sherga.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another ride of Choo Choo. Today I am joined by one very special guest. To my right, your left if you're watching on YouTube, we have Ben Wilcox. It's his first time here on the Choo Choo podcast, but for those of you that remember, back when I did Garage Boozing before the rebrand here, Ben was actually on the very last episode of Garage Boozing episode number 100. So I thought, why the hell not bring him back? Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on your new podcast. This is awesome.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment there. Real quick, Ben, I do want to say, I said it to you the second you walked here in the garage. Yes, guys, it's still a garage. But the second you walked in here, I was like, wow, dude, you look small. You lost some weight.
I did. Yeah. It's the carnivore diet that is really responsible, 100% responsible for it. Yeah, it's...
So... sorry if I cut you off there, but if you guys remember, I had Brandon Eastman on here a couple of episodes ago, and Brandon Eastman was big on the carnivore diet too, and his inspiration for the carnivore diet is actually the man sitting directly to my right, Ben Wilcox. So Ben, my first question here for you is, what got you into the carnivore diet? Like, why did you make the change? Like, how'd you get there?
The thing about this diet is that when people try it, there's definitely a going out on a limb factor for it. And when people try it and get results from it, they have to tell somebody about it. And it actually started with our friend Dustin. Dustin was actually the first person to ever bring it to me and talk about it. And it really actually started with water fasting. And that was how this whole thing started for me. Again, from Dustin's suggestion. And when he first said it to me, I thought that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. To just
The carnivore diet or the water?
Both, but starting with the water fast. So the water fast is exactly what it sounds like. It's doing nothing but drinking water for as many days as you can go. And so that sounds like you die.
For days?
You can go months. Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
So here's why. So, and I said the same thing. This is literally the conversation that everyone has when talking about this for the first time. You can go a very long time as long as you have fat on your body, as long as you're not malnourished, as long as you're not dying from hunger, and you don't eat any food, as long as you're consuming water, your body will go into ketosis, and ketosis is using your fat stores as a fuel.
Right.
And
I lost 40 pounds on keto.
This is keto. So this is a different form of keto.
Hold on. Stay with the water thing first, because that's like... I mean, that's not keto. You're not fucking eating.
It is. You're still in ketosis. So the ketosis is the lack or of carbs and sugar essentially.
Right.
So your body. So the
Eat your fat for
the
energy.
macronutrients are protein, fat, and sugar and no, not sugar, but anyway, these things your body will burn these things in order. The first thing that it tries to get out of your system is alcohol. Will burn it the fastest. If you have these things present in your body will burn them as fuel. So if you drink a lot, the alcohol will be your body's fuel, and that's why people who drink carry a lot of weight with them, because they're not processing any of the other things that they're eating.
That's why I got a dad bod.
It's we've all been there. We've all been there. I actually am a dad. And then the next is carbs, and carbs are you can obviously, most of us, especially the Western diet, we live on carbs. That's the it's probably 85 to 90% of our diet. And then
Pasta, man. Ugh.
yeah, I love pasta. So going back to, your body will burn these things in order. So it kind of, and the last thing is fat. So if you have the absence of all these other things, and the only thing that's left in your body is fat, then your body resorts to that. And this goes back to our creation, from the beginning of our time of history for humankind, and cavemen in general were scavengers first, and then hunter-gatherers later, and then agriculture came later after that, and we started, grains were introduced to our diet, but they weren't for years, many, thousands, millions of years. There was just, we were going out and killing things that moved and eating them. And so when we were really basic, our body has this great ability to turn just about anything we eat into fat. And so when you were out scavenging the plain, if you were starving and you came across a carcass, for example, you could eat that and you wouldn't enjoy it. It wouldn't be delicious, but your body could turn it into fat. And if you're in ketosis, it burns that fat and you live and you can survive. And it burns it very slow, so it lasts for a long time, so you stay alive for a long period of time.
Dude, early humans probably ate like wild shit.
Yeah, anything like anything
Things that would make us sick now.
Yes, literally whatever they could get their hands on.
Yeah.
So, and so I'll come back to this in a minute, but this is an interesting fact. The Paleozoic era, when man was eating mostly meat, but also root vegetables and basic things, we weren't growing any grains or anything like that. We were eating potatoes and things that we could pull up out of the ground that we, realized were edible. That was when humans were the healthiest they've ever been. Their lifespan wasn't very good.
That's what I was going to say.
We live much longer now, but that's because of the intervention of modern medicine, and
For the most part.
Yes, and then there's also the other side. We can go into that for
Mr.
hours.
Conspiracy over
Yeah,
there.
no, we can talk about that. But as far as like when we find remains of people from the Paleozoic era, their teeth are straight, their bones are healthy and thick. You don't find things like disease, not necessarily disease, but you don't find things that from civilizations where they were sick, where they weren't eating well, where they were malnourished. During the Paleozoic, almost all the remains were very healthy, fully developed individuals.
Cancer probably wasn't even a thing.
Probably not. Cancer, I think, is more of a modern thing. I'm sure it could happen. Cancer comes from a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But back then, it was probably less likely, much less likely. Where now we're just exposed to things all day long. But
Right.
So, going back to my original point. So, if you stop eating food and you just drink water, whatever body fat you have now turns into fuel, and you can go for very long periods of time. There was a guy in the Guinness World Book of Records who went, I think, a year. And he was like a 300-pound man. So he started off gigantic, and then at the end of this was a normal-sized person. But he did spend a year just water fasting. And
That sounds insane to me.
it is insane.
I thought people did this for like a couple days. I didn't know you could do that long.
So I've done it myself personally. 4 days was my max, and that was an experience.
What was that like?
So this is what started the whole thing. This is really what got me interested in all of this. So Dustin had suggested this, and when he first said it, that sounds terrible.
Like, bro, you're
can
crazy.
You die? And he's like, no. And he explained basically what I just explained.
Why don't people know this?
That's the $1 million question. There's
Sure.
so many things that why don't people know? I didn't know. Most people don't.
All right, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's a good question, though. It's a very fair question. Why don't more people know? Because I myself, when he told me about it, and now I'm trying to explain it to people, and your reaction is what everybody's like, really? You can do that?
I go, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no, and that's how I responded to him. That's
Yeah.
how so anyway, so he did it for like 14 or 15 days. Like he went like
Jesus.
2 weeks or maybe more. I think it was closer to a month. And then anyway, so as he's doing this, and I'm watching him go through it, and he looks healthy. He looks fine. He doesn't look like pale and washed out. He just looks like he's losing weight, and he was explaining to me some of the things that happen. And basically, the long and short of it is, after you go a few days without eating food, first of all, the first day, the whole hangry thing, the word, the hangry,
Yeah.
and what that is your blood sugar. I think we all know that, but we don't really think about it. It's your blood sugar doing this because you haven't eaten. If you're used to eating carbs, and you stop eating them, your body wants more pretty soon after you've stopped eating them because you got to keep stoking the flame. So your body starts telling you, hey, it's time to eat. And you start to feel like shit. And it's not real, though. It's your brain just saying, we're much more comfortable having this high level of sugar and carbs, so get more, please. Go to the refrigerator. And so you do, and you snack. And then it keeps this thing going. When you stop eating, though, that goes away. So like maybe a day and a half, like the second day into this water fast, now all of a sudden you don't feel that way at all. You don't feel hungry at all. Your body's like, all right, he's not actually going to get up and get any food, so we're just going to leave him alone and just stop, And then eventually your digestive system will turn off in a good way, not like shut down like it's failing. It actually just like, we don't need this now. We're just going to power it down. And then your body reroutes power to everything else.
So are you drinking a lot of water in this process,
Yes.
though? Like,
Not a lot, what you should be drinking, which for most people is a lot, but yeah.
I usually drink a gallon of water a day, so I'm pretty good at that.
That's probably more than you need to, but
Oh,
that
it
would
is,
be,
yeah.
But that's the idea, yes.
That's why I pee 17,000 times a day. Like, if I'm the worst person to go on a road trip with, because if we go on a road trip, like, for example, if me and you were to drive to the city right now, I would stop to pee at least 3 times.
Well, so you do have to drink, and you also have to keep yourself. You have to salt, potassium, sodium, and magnesium are things that will very quickly flush out of your system, and you'll start to feel just slow. Your calves will cramp up. You ever heard that? Where if you have leg cramps, you get a banana.
Yeah.
It's potassium. Yeah, that's
K
why.
on the periodic table.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why. So there's supplements you can get, like little packet drinks, or you can make your own. You can just put the stuff together and drink it. But what happens is within a very short period of time, after you get past that wonky feeling of just wanting to eat something, all of a sudden it passes. It's like a switch flips off, and then you start to feel good. You start to feel really good, and I can only describe it like a really weak edible, like that good. Like
Really?
body buzz, yeah, like a whole just this state of well-being. And for me, it was, and I'm going to explain this in a minute. But it was more pronounced for me, and it's because I found out later on I have a really high sensitivity to sugar, and it was fucking me up. Like, can we curse?
I have said fuck 8 times already.
Yeah. So it was really messing with my entire adult life. I've been
Can we curse?
Yeah, I don't know if you're since I can remember in my adult life, I've dealt with depression, and it's just part of life, and I have had it under control. And
I saw your Facebook post the other day.
yeah, and it was something that I just accepted, and it wasn't to the point where I wanted to off myself or anything, but like I just dealt with it on a regular. So the first time I did the water fast, within the second day, I started to feel really good, and I was like, wow, this is to the point where I was catching myself, like I would feel really good, and what it was is my serotonin levels and my dopamine was just coming back online, and it had just been tapped for so long, and I'll explain that in a minute. But when I was starting to feel good, I would be looking at something like, for example, this camera, and just feeling really good about it.
And you're like, wow, that's a cool camera.
Yeah, and then I would stop to ask myself, why am I focusing on this? And what it was is just the image of the camera was attaching to that feel good sensation that I was having that's been so long that I've been without, that it was pronounced to the point where I had to recognize it. Like, wow, I feel really good. Like, this has nothing to do with the camera or whatever it might have been. It was just that I just feel good.
And this was just from not eating and drinking water.
Yeah. And so I started thinking, is it my diet that's been fucking with me all this time? Is this what's causing my depression? And it really seemed like that was the answer. And so I finished the water fast.
How come you only lasted 4 days though? If you felt that good, by day 4 you had to get hungry.
It's a combination of feelings. It's when you're first going into ketosis, there's a thing called the keto flu.
Yep, been there. Yeah,
It's a very real,
very hard.
Yes,
very
you
hard.
did keto. So that is the gatekeeper.
Yep.
If you can't get through that, you're not going to be able to do this. And
But once you do, it's like boom.
Like
I
a
was
light switch.
Dude, I was jumping out of bed. I was like,
Yes.
holy shit. Yeah.
Like all of a sudden everything just changes. And so when you're doing a water fast, you're experiencing two different things at once. You're experiencing that lethargic feeling of the keto flu. Everything is slowing down, and you getting out of bed or just standing up quickly, you get like lightheaded, and it's your body. The analogy I use is like you've got a race car and you're running 87 shit fuel in it, and you change it over to race fuel. You got to get that stuff out before it starts to run correctly. So
Okay.
when you're switching fuels, that is the keto flu. That's your body, especially if you've been eating carbs your whole life and that's what you're used to, and now all of a sudden you're burning something else. So when you're doing a water fast, you experience that slowed down feeling, but you also feel this overwhelming clarity, like just the fog lifts. And for me, it was a lot of fog, and that's from carbs, but it was especially from sugar for me. And so I started to realize, this is like a noticeable difference. And I did. So I was like, is this my diet? And so I finished this water. I was starting to say earlier, I finished this water fast. Pretty, I'd come to the conclusion that it was my diet and went right back to my shitty diet. And for another 6 to 8 months, just ate the way I normally was, and did another water fast. And then proved to myself that it was like day 2 I'm into. I'm like, I feel so good. It is my diet.
It's almost like a high. You feel so
yeah,
good.
you feel just really just nice. Just this really good feeling of just. And again, for me, I think that my serotonin and dopamine were just tapped out. And so it's the same concept as imagine, like it's really no different than doing cocaine and then coming down from it. You're just all your feel good chemicals are gone and you feel terrible. And that that crash is that's how I felt every day,
Right.
like all day long, to the point where it was getting to a point where I was ready to go to, I was going to go and see a doctor and like, check and see if it was my testosterone levels or whatever. Like I was feeling awful, just really, really bad. And so I did the third water fast. And in between the last two, again, Dustin and I were talking about the carnivore diet, and he started doing it for a period of time. And he's a big dude. He's like an inch taller than me, and he's a big guy. And very quickly, his face leaned out, and everything started to, and he just looked healthy. Some people lose weight and they go pale and they whatever. He just looked
Right.
he looked healthy. And so I started thinking about it. I want to try this. I want to, this is something that I could probably do because it's literally eating a ribeye every day. It's eating a steak every day. And
I'm glad you mentioned that real quick because like when I see your shit on Facebook, like the dinners and stuff you make,
yeah.
you look just like from your posts, like you can make a mean steak.
I've been cooking for a long time, but because of this diet,
I was gonna say you've always cooked,
Yeah.
But like when the shit you post looks delicious, man.
Thank you. That's from making one every day. Like so I'm 7 months into this now. This is
Right.
Yeah. The 13th of this month will be seven months, and I've made a ribeye every day, maybe sometimes two. So I don't know. What is that? 160? I don't know how many that is.
I love steak.
This is the cool thing. Me too. And you would think that eating the same thing every day would get old really fast, and it doesn't.
That's how I was on keto because I was eating like eggs and ground beef like every day.
Yeah. And it's your body knows what it wants. So like, and I don't feel hungry anymore. I don't ever have cravings. I just know when I need to eat. And sometimes I have to remind myself, hey, you haven't eaten today. Let's make a steak. And I sit down to it, and it's delicious, and it's as good as the first steak I can remember having. That was amazing, and it never gets old.
I don't know if anyone could ever get sick of steak though, dude. Steak is so good.
You would think though that eating the same thing repetitively for months on end, that you would eventually be like, I'm over it, and
Sure.
I'm just not. Like I don't.
But like if I had to pick one thing to eat every day for the rest of my life, steak is definitely a top contender.
Same.
Like holy fuck.
That is why I tried this diet. I said to you earlier before we started recording, it's more of a lifestyle. This is something I can do for the rest of my life. This isn't
Is that your plan?
I've been modifying it a little bit. I definitely initially I was doing, in the very beginning I was doing what they called strict lion, where it was just beef. Like you can do carnivore is any meat product, so
Right.
beef, pork, bacon is a big one. And because of the fat thing, you want to eat stuff that has fat in it. So bacon's actually good for you in this diet, and your body is using that as fuel rather than. So I'm jumping around a lot, but
I know.
Ask me about the cholesterol thing later because that's a big question. And I'll come back to that.
I'll put it on the list here.
Because everybody's like, well, how about your cholesterol levels? And you're eating all this fat and stuff, and there's a very good answer for that.
So let's rewind real quick because I kind of cut you off and got a little excited with the steak thing. But so Dustin was telling you more about the carnivore diet, and then you finally started it.
So I did a water fast. I did 4 days. It was the longest one I've ever done.
So the last one was 4 days.
Yes.
Okay.
And on day 4, I was at work, left work, went to Chops, got a steak, brought it back, and it was the first thing I ate. It was a ribeye. It was the first thing I ate for 4 days, and I shit my brains out. And it's like it goes right through you like a freight train, and that's
Like a freight train.
to be expected or to be expected as well, because that's just your body's like, what?
Sure.
Like you've had no food for 4 days, and now this is what you're eating. And so that's a thing. And then, by day 2, that clears up. And then you start to feel good. Like I said.
So when you left work on day 4 of the water fast, you decided that you're like, I'm going to do carnivore now.
I actually went and got a steak and brought it back to work. And so Dustin has this $20 electric skillet in the back room. And I thought I could probably make a steak in that. That's what I've been using. I have one at home now. And I'm actually thinking about doing a YouTube video on this because I can make such a good steak in this thing right at work.
So that's kind of cool. I actually have a Ninja cooker up in my kitchen. That's like a 7-in-1, a Ninja thing. Like you can bake, like do broil, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So when I cook, and you can air fry everything like that. Yeah. But it's like a grill too. Mm-hmm. So I suck at making steaks myself. Like if you asked me to like put it on the grill, like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So this thing, whenever I make a steak, I put it in the Ninja cooker and then I cook beef like steak mode, and it's got a little thermometer in it, so nice. I stick it in the meat. Then I say I want it medium rare, so as soon as it's medium rare it beeps at me.
That's awesome.
But sorry, so to ask you one more time, so before you went and bought the steak though, you made the decision to do carnivore at that time?
I had made the decision to do it before the water fast.
So you started the water fast. Okay, gotcha.
And the water fast I decided to do kind of on a whim, but I was like, when I finish this water fast, I'm going to be well into ketosis, and I'm going to start this carnivore diet. So it'll be, everything will be seamless. You really, knowing that the keto flu was coming, I was trying to prepare for it a little bit better, and it didn't help. It was
Sure.
still the same. So it was like almost 2 weeks of just feeling like just slow.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I had watched a lot of. There's tons and tons of videos.
It's like you're hungover, kind of.
It is. Yeah.
Sluggish. You feel
just
sluggish. You just feel weird.
no
Yeah.
energy. Like
Right.
it's just very very low.
It's like you
energy.
woke up and it's raining outside because you know, like you
Yeah.
wake up and like
Yep.
everyone's more tired when it's raining.
And you're not really tired, but you got to force yourself to do things. You
Right.
just got to force yourself to get up, and you got to yeah. And so, but at the same time, you feel like your brain feels good. That was for me. That was what kept me going through the whole thing because I knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and I just felt otherwise really good. It was a weird mix of things, being tired like that, and also feeling. But again, I was waking up in the morning and feeling like. You worked with me. I was an asshole in the morning. Like, and people are telling me now, like,
I'm
dude,
still an asshole in the morning.
like I'm just a happier person. Like my general disposition is just better now, just because I wake up and don't feel awful.
That's how I was when I did keto, and also when I did dry January and wasn't drinking and stuff as much. I definitely had the most energy then because I mean I went a solid month without drinking. You know, now I drink on like weekends or like podcasts and stuff, but still, like tomorrow I'll feel a little sluggish because
drinking is it's the drinking thing is one thing, but it's the alcohol and carbs really does affect your body in a way where going back to humans can turn anything into fat. That's really the problem that we're having now. And this is my own opinion. This is something that I'm fairly confident on, but this is my opinion. I feel that food nowadays has been changed so much that our body doesn't recognize it as food anymore.
sure, dude. I mean,
So it doesn't know what to do with it, so it just makes it into fat.
look at the ingredients in like a cereal here versus the UK.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, but yes, this
For real, yeah, dude.
country's-
Our ingredient list is this.
So I was going to try
And
and
then-
avoid conspiracy theories tonight, but this country is trying to kill us. Every single thing
Here he goes.
every single thing we eat in this country, if you don't make it yourself, if you don't get it from your neighbor who grew it, it's going to be poisonous. And it's killing all of us. And I personally was more affected by it. I grew up as a, very skinny kid, like, and, just very active and whatever. And, and I got into my adult years and put on weight really fast. I was active in the gym, so that kept it at bay. But as soon as I stopped going to the gym, I just got heavy and just sick. I was
Right.
sick. Like that's the only way to describe it. I was sick. And as soon as I broke out of this Western diet and started to, so here's the other part of this though. So there's so many things to talk about, but the main thing, I went into this out of curiosity. And the weight loss was certainly something that I wanted to do because I've lost 50 pounds, and I still have, I could go a little bit more. I feel good where I am though.
I will say, real quick, like, I've known you for how many? Almost a decade now, something like that.
Yeah.
They're close to it.
Yep.
And like, I always knew like you were a bigger dude, like taller, stuff like that. But like, I never realized that you were like how much do you weigh now, if you don't mind me asking?
204.
Damn.
Yeah. And I'm almost 6'4", 6'3".
So what did you weigh, say, 2 years ago?
When I met you, probably when I first started working 2 years ago, I was probably 240, 250, somewhere around there. When I first started working, when you and I first met, I was about 220, and I was comfortable there. I also had more muscle mass. I was going to the gym, and I was younger.
Right.
I was younger. It was 10 years ago. I was younger. But now I'm going back to the gym now. Right now I feel skinny. I feel good. Like I'm wearing clothes the size clothes I wore in high school, which is
Dude, when you walked
weird.
in, I literally said, "Wow, you look small."
Yeah.
Like back to what I was saying is like I never realized that you were like bigger in that way because you hit it very well. So like I know you said the suit thing earlier, right? And I was like, "Oh, you're not a long," and you're like, "Oh no, it was just to kind of hide the fat." Like
Yeah.
I just knew you were a big dude, tall and stuff like that, but I didn't know you were riding 250.
Oh, I was when I was married to my former wife, before her and I separated, right at the tail end, I was almost 300.
Jesus.
And being tall, you can, I could carry 300 a lot better. 290 was probably, but still, it's close enough. You can carry it better when you're tall, but it's a lot of weight, especially now that I'm 204 or whatever. That's almost 100 pounds more, and that's
Yeah.
like. Imagine, like, you've been to the gym. Imagine a 45-pound plate. Imagine 2 of those and put them in a backpack and just carry that with you all day long.
That's a lot of fucking weight, bro.
Especially just right here. And like,
Yeah.
So, the weight loss, though, again, was a super cool thing. But that's not really. I went into this out of curiosity, but also, as I was starting to say earlier, with the water fast, when your body starts to when it doesn't have to work hard to produce or process all this stuff that you're putting through it, it starts to heal itself. And during a water fast, you'll have scars go away that you've had your whole life. People have reversed diabetes. I'm not going to suggest anybody like go off their diabetes medication and do this, but it literally has reversed diabetes. It's reversed cancer because there's a lot of new studies showing that cancer is fed by sugar. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but these are things that I've heard.
It's believable.
For myself, though, what I experienced was, first of all, my depression was gone almost immediately. Almost immediately. My anxiety is way less. Still have that, but that's just part of life. But my depression was overwhelming, and it's just gone. And it's been 7 months with no like nights of just staring at the ceiling, wondering how. And it wasn't even real things. It was just my brain,
Sure.
messing with me. That's gone. Acid reflux gone. My
Really?
hair, yeah. Like I used to. And, a lot of that was.
I get acid reflux all the time.
And you're not even overweight. It's just, again, it's our diet. It's the shit. Like, it's your body going, this isn't food, man. This is not what we should be eating. And that's a big part of it. I would brace for it. I'd be like, all right, how long can I go before I grab the Tums? And just lay there in bed and just be like, all right, it's time.
Damn.
Yeah, every night. And like, because I didn't really want to be eating Tums every night either. So sometimes I would, if I could, I wouldn't take them. Now, like, I haven't bought a thing of Tums in 7 months.
Now, did you know that you were depressed? Like, did you realize it?
Yes, I was very aware of it, and I just thought it was part of life, like a lot of us do. I think, like especially social media talks about mental illness and all these things, and we've all got some sort of OCD, or we've got something we all think we do. We all self-diagnose ourselves, and I was guilty of that. I was like, I have depression, and I did, but my depression was just fucking sugar overdose. It was literally, as soon as I removed that from my diet, my serotonin came back online and my dopamine and all these things, and I started feeling good again, and that was literally killing me for, I'm going to be 49 in a week. And,
Damn.
Yeah, I know.
You're old.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I feel better now that I'd say that, but that's what old people say, but I
Sure.
don't feel it. I feel better now than I have in years. Like that was the other thing. I was worried about my testosterone. I don't mind talking about it now. It's a little weird, but like now that that's kind of a thing behind me. My testosterone is back to where it's supposed to be, like for sure. Ask my wife.
So you're talking about like getting it up?
Not even that. Like it never came to that. Like, like when your testosterone starts to drop, you start to feel like shit. And so I was experiencing these feelings, these symptoms, and I thought maybe it's my T levels. So maybe I need to get this looked at. And I'm sure that was part of it too. It all comes in one package.
Sure.
But once I started to get healthy again, everything comes back online, and I just feel amazing. I feel. Another thing too is being able to speak without pausing and forgetting what I was saying. Just clarity. Like I have.
The fog is gone.
Yeah, I have full access to my vocabulary again. I've always thought myself as a good speaker, and in the last several years.
And you know a lot of big words. You say big words all the time. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, and a lot of them I forgot though, and now they've returned.
Oh, great! It's gonna be even worse now, right?
But so many things though. Like my hair grows faster. My nails. I have to clip my nails more often. My beard grows faster. Normally I've got I got a beard down here. I just cut it off. This is like not. This is like everything is just better. My skin cleared up. My again, here's another weird thing to talk about, but like my back always had back knee or whatever you want to call it. I had bad just my right down to the back of my legs. All of that's gone. And what it was is just the garbage I was eating and just trying to come out my pores, like just trying to shed this stuff from my body. So a really important point here to make though is that the carnivore diet is what got me to this point, and I'm sort of moving away from it now only because it's a restrictive diet that is, meat. There's a lot of misunderstanding about meat, and meat is super good for you. And no matter what anybody tells you, meat is super good for you. It's a superfood, and it's very easy to digest. It's easy to process, and it's very easy on your system when you're having other problems. So if you have autoimmune diseases, if you have, if you're, there's a lot of things that you can kind of get rid of and sort of narrow down what's affecting me. What is, and for me, again, I realized it was sugar. Now I'm moving back into, I'm adding fruits. Speaking of sugar, I'm adding fruits back into my diet. I'm starting to go to the gym again because I would like to, I've lost this weight and I feel, kind of thin. I would like to put a little bit of muscle back on. And one of the problems, and I'm sure you experience this with keto, is you don't have burst energy. You have long sustained energy. It's kind of like diesel versus gas. You can go long, like I can take a walk for 4 miles with my dog and not break a sweat and not even, and just get bored and go home, where I couldn't do that before. This is from keto. But going into the gym, getting on the bench and trying to put heavy weight on the bar, I just didn't have that explosive energy, and so I just didn't go to the gym.
Sure.
I started going to the gym when I first lost this weight. I was like, all right, now it's time. And I was just like, I don't feel that, just wanting to hit it hard, like that feeling you need to have in the gym. And so I'm watching some videos and some other people that are doing this. I started adding yogurt, like whole milk, whole fat yogurt with honey, which I get from my parents because they had bees. They don't now, but they still have honey left over. But it's local honey is the
I
point.
fucking hate bees.
But local honey is super good for you. And then some fruit. And so, anyways, because I've had such a lack of sugar for so long, when I eat this in the morning and then go to the gym, it's like a pre-workout.
You're like, woo!
Yeah, like I literally get in and I feel that explosive energy, and I can actually. It's been a slow climb back to the weight that I used to do. I feel very weak right now, but I feel stronger. I feel good. Like it's coming back, and it's been like 2 years since I was really active in the gym. But my point is that I'm adding things back into my diet now because I'm not going to just eat beef for the rest of my life. I don't need to. There are people who have, like Michaela Peterson. Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Michaela has like all these allergies to things, and so she eats like lamb, and that's it. And Jordan, he eats just beef, and she has to, and she's very healthy now. Worth watching her TED Talk. She had every problem you could imagine in it, and going to this exclusive limited diet healed her, and that's really where I got. After talking to Dustin, that was my next thing, watching her and listening to her talk about how it changed her life. But now that I know I don't have these problems, I know that sugar, and it's the fake sugar, like sweets and things like that, because I would eat a lot of ice cream and things.
Anything that rhymes with oat and gross, right?
Yeah, I mean, like
That's what I learned in school.
Yeah, that does, yeah, sucrose, and yeah, exactly, those types of sugars. Whereas, like, well, no, because it actually, what is it? There's the natural sugars that are in fruits your body recognizes. It's something that's just encoded in you. You've been eating them since the beginning of time, so your body knows what it is. It's the things that we make that are similar, like the processed foods. Again, this is my opinion. I'm not basing this on anything other than what I've experienced, but I really believe that 90% of the food that we're eating now, especially bread and a lot of vegetables that have been modified and things, and I don't mean crossed with other strands of the vegetable, I mean changed, actually genetically changed. Your body, like a computer running software, is seeing this stuff, and it's like, this isn't food. This is something else.
Well, you know what I recently found out? So, like, I used to get I'd go to Hannaford and get the Hannaford brand cheese slices, right? Like not from the deli, but like in the little packages.
Yep.
And it says like something cheese product. Like it's not even cheese.
Yeah,
it's not even cheese.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
They can't legally call it cheese because it doesn't have enough actual things that would make it cheese. It's processed cheese food.
I grew up on that cheese, and it's fake cheese.
Yep.
Government cheese.
That's, one of many things. And so, when you're eating that kind of stuff all day long, and then we wonder, especially in this country, why we're all overweight, it's because your body hasn't seen real food in quite a while. And the shit that you're just pumping through you, it's just saying, well, we're just going to make it into fat, and hopefully some good stuff will come along. And then, the cycle just it continues. And the thing about this diet, and it proves this, within 30 days, I lost 30 pounds. I mean, that's and 30
astronomical
healthy pounds too. Like, again, I didn't feel, it was coming off me and I felt good. And it was just because I was just purging that stuff from my system. My body's like, oh, all right, food again. A really good example of how good beef is for you. And this is, I'm jumping around a lot here, and there was another guy that did a video, or a bunch of videos. This guy, Kent Carnivore, and his name's not Kent. I don't know what it is. It's like Bob or something.
His last name's definitely not Carnivore.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think that he made that up too. He has a colostomy bag. So he has a bag on his side that he shits into. And his lower intestine has been removed. He had ulcerative colitis.
Oh, he probably smells bad.
He might. But so he started doing these videos about this and the carnivore diet. And he initially, so he had ulcerative colitis, which my mother has, and my mother's been managing it, and she's far worse than her. Like my mother still has her lower intestine. His got so advanced that they had to take his intestine out, and he has a tube that sticks out of where it used to be, and there's a bag.
Right.
Gross, right?
Yep.
So he says, like, my life is over. This happened. I can't go out anywhere. This thing is loud. It's disgusting. Everything I eat agitates me. Everything's making me sick. Like, I just feel like I'm broken. And so he's like, he switched to the vegan diet. And he started there. And he was saying that the vegan diet was awful. And the problem with it is that he's like, with this bag on my side, I can see everything that goes through me. So I know what it looks like when it comes out the other end. And he's like, these vegetables still look the same as when I stopped chewing them. They're not breaking down. And it's because they're cellulose. And that's something, your stomach is made out of cellulose. Cows can digest it. They have 4 stomachs and they're designed to do that. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, 4 stomachs.
That's a lot of stomachs.
Specifically to break down grass and things like that.
Sounds like a lot of diarrhea.
Well, that's how that stuff's broken down because cellulose is like nature's plastic. It's very, very durable. So anyway, he's like, mushrooms and things are clogging up this tube. I'm just in everything. I'm just in agony. I'm bloated. Everything. I feel awful. And he's like, he saw Michaela Peterson, and so he's like, I told my doctor I'm going to try this diet. And my doctor's like, are you nuts? This is the worst thing you could possibly eat. Red meat and intestinal problems, because that's what we've been told our whole lives. And this is what his doctor still believes. And he did it anyway. And now this guy's been on it for like 5 years. This is a veteran. This guy has been doing it for yeah. And he's like kind of jacked. He's in really good shape. He's extremely like outgoing. He does these videos. He's turned his life around. And what he was saying, he's like, not to be gross, but like you've never seen meat in the toilet. We've never taken a shit and seen meat in the toilet because it doesn't do that. It breaks down into liquid. It liquefies. Your body knows what it is. It can process it very easily. It takes everything it needs out of it and does what it's supposed to do. However, corn and yeah. So so he was saying once he got into this diet and got through the initial window of the keto flu and all these things, all of a sudden everything started to turn around.
That's insane.
Yeah, and that's an example of someone who's got the worst guts you could possibly have and is thriving off a meat diet.
So back to the meat thing, because you told me to ask you this earlier, cholesterol.
So here's the thing about cholesterol. First of all, every study that's ever been done on cholesterol and red meat that links it to heart disease and these other things has all been observational, which means that it's someone's opinion. There are 2 types of studies that can be done, an observational and causative. Causative, we know cigarettes cause cancer.
Sure.
We know that the carcinogens in cigarettes are directly linked. It's not a guess. Whereas red meat and cholesterol, these same studies are showing that, so back when they told us in the 80s you shouldn't eat as much red meat as you do, the people who didn't stop eating red meat were the same people who drank a lot of alcohol and smoked cigarettes and did all the other things they told us we shouldn't do, they continue to do. So the studies were mostly done on those people. And yes, they were having heart problems and they were having, all kinds of issues because of the other parts of their diet. When you're in ketosis and you're consuming fat, that fat is being used. It's not just circulating in your system and clogging up your arteries and just floating freely around your body. You're using it, all of it, as fuel. And then going back to cholesterol, there's all kinds of new studies showing that cholesterol may not be linked to heart disease at all. And that a lot of people, for example, I know if I went and got blood work right now that my LDL cholesterol will be high. And they're starting to show these studies, not starting, this has been for a while, that's linked to good health, that you have good and bad cholesterol. And we've known that for the last couple of years. But that it's all just bullshit is what it is. It's just another example of like, if you go on the meat diet, you're going to get healthy. And then all the drugs you're on, there's plenty of people on YouTube doing, like I came off my antidepressants. I never took antidepressants because I was scared of pharmaceuticals, but I should have been on them. I would be coming off of them. There's another guy who came off testosterone replacement, which you're never supposed to do. Like doctors tell you, as a man, when you start this, it's for the rest of your life. So if you're going to do this, you're locked in. And this guy started it.
Locked in.
There you go. This guy started it and, and then went on the carnivore diet. This is another great channel. This guy's been doing it for like 7 years. He's a year older than me. Started off, his blood work, T levels were like 2 something, like tanked. It was just like he was in super terrible health. And his first video shows him in his kitchen and he's got this greasy ponytail and there's all these dishes stacked behind him and his apartment looks like a dump and it's filmed on a shitty camera. So the whole image is just like, just
not great,
not good. And he's like, I'm making this video to document my journey into this diet because my life is awful. My wife's leaving me. I'm losing my job. Everything is terrible. And so this is the first step for me. So this is his first video. And then later on in these videos, after he completely changes his entire life, that same kitchen in the background, everything's clean. He's got a better camera. It looks nicer. There's no dishes in the sink. It's just like little things like that.
Progress, man.
Yes. But he's talking, and when you watch the videos of people who are on carnivore, they all look and speak the same way, very clear speaking, very eyes look the same, healthy, dialed in. He went from this guy that looked like he was dying on the camera as he's filming it to a very healthy human. But he was saying, anyway, his T levels 2 something when he started. Went on to testosterone replacement and then got up to like 4 something, low or high 3s, low 4s. And said to his doctor, same thing, I'm coming off of this. I'm not doing it anymore. And his doctor's like, you're nuts. Like, this is the worst decision you could make. And he did it. And he went and got his blood work done, I think 6 months after that. And his T scores were like 675. And this
Damn.
dude's like 50. So, like, this is really, it's very telling. So, I haven't had my blood work done, but I know how I feel.
Sure.
I feel amazing. So, I can only imagine what it looks like. But again, going back to the cholesterol and just like, oh, you're eating bacon every day, how is it not killing you? It's because that fat. I don't actually eat bacon every day. I did in the beginning. I don't eat.
I love bacon.
I do too, and it's good for me in this diet.
I just hate cooking it because I was like getting splattered. Yeah.
That's part of it. It's yes, that's the
Name of the game.
that's the price you pay for delicious pork. But it's that fat is good for you. That's why ribeye, because it's a fatty steak, and that's what my body needs now. I've found though that you can kind of fluctuate in and out of ketosis and still maintain it, and this is the cool part about it. So you did keto, so you can appreciate this. If you're not careful and you eat the wrong things, you come out of ketosis, and then you have to start the process over. And so, what I was finding is when I do this yogurt, fruit, honey thing in the morning, and then I go to the gym and just hit it hard, I burn it off, and I come home and I've got the piss strips, the keto.
Yeah, I had those too. Yeah,
and I'm still in ketosis. It's not as dark
purple.
red,
right?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. It's not as dark as it could be. Especially when I first started it, and I was using the strips for the first time, and I'd been weeks into it. But yeah, you remain in ketosis, and you feel good. Like, there's a trade-off if you're
peeing on that strip feels great.
when you see that color and
Yep.
and it just shows you're a success. But as I'm sure with ketosis, you kind of feel sluggish. You feel good, but you feel kind of sluggish, and that was something that I wasn't sure that I wanted to trade off. This whole everything else, this experience has been amazing, but I really wanted the energy back, and that's the way. I have to go to the gym after I eat that stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to turn in, and then it could upset everything. But it tastes so good. It's been so long since I've had sugar that it just tastes amazing. It's really
sure.
And it gets me up in the morning too, because I generally try to go early in the morning to get it done.
Church.
Yeah, church. Yeah. I was posting that. I was going back in the day 3-4 days a week, sometimes 5.
So, do you think that this is going to be like something you stick with for a long time?
I would never go back to. Michaela Peterson said it best, and she's like, when people ask you, well, don't you miss pizza and don't you miss this and that? And she said, and I agree, that nothing tastes as good as feeling good feels.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah.
So, like, do you have a cheat meal ever?
What I've been cheating with is chocolate. That's my thing. That's the one thing that I have not gotten over the cravings for. And so,
but if you do like really, really dark chocolate, it's
exactly what I'm doing. And your taste buds change. So dark chocolate tastes really good to me, and I didn't used to like it. I was more of
like bitter. It's bitter, kind of. Yeah.
It doesn't taste bitter to me anymore. The
right.
sugar is so pronounced. The sweet part of it is so pronounced that it just tastes like real. And like Ghirardelli, like good quality chocolate, it just tastes really good. So like I'll have a square like that 1 inch by 1 inch Ghirardelli, the bar you can break off. And my problem though is if I buy some and keep it in the house, like I'll have one, I'll just like end up eating a bunch of them.
Right.
And I've slipped a little bit. That's the one thing. Like I haven't had any pizza, which I was making pizza.
I love pizza.
And that was my thing. Like I was a pizza cook back in the day, and then I remember the pizzas I was posting, and I was making my own dough and all that stuff. I don't miss that stuff at all, which is weird to me. And I was really concerned. Like if I do this, like I'm giving up a lot of things that I love, and I don't. Everything changes when your body switches into that different fuel. And now I think about. Like Talk of the Town pizza sounds good to me right now, but if it was in front of me, I don't think I would eat it.
Sure.
I think I would know that it would just be, my stomach would be a wreck.
And you feel like shit after you ate it.
And I would regret it. Not only would I feel bad physically, but also mentally after all I've been through just, at this point. I don't crave it. It's not like me just like, being strong and giving it up. I just wouldn't eat it. But chocolate, though, for some reason, that has not gone away. But I don't crave pasta. That was another big thing. I love Italian food.
Yep.
I don't crave bread, another huge thing. I was a baker. Like I did a lot of, in the food stuff.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, for sure.
And so I love bread, and I do miss it, but I don't miss it enough to to even think about going back and eating it.
Well, like the quote you just said.
Yeah, yeah, but chocolate is the one though. That's the one I've been struggling with. So I keep it out of the house. But it's again though I've tested just to see how this works, and if I have one of those, it doesn't kick me out of ketosis, and it keeps me going. It's not like this diet is hard for me because I eat a steak and some eggs and bacon and pretty much I'm fine with that, and it does. I don't. But sometimes you want different textures. Sometimes you want something different, and that does switch it up a little bit.
So, do you have any advice for anybody that's like interested in starting the carnivore diet but doesn't want to take the step, the leap?
Yes. The very first thing I would do if anyone is interested in knowing how this works is to do a water fast. A water fast will tell you how that feeling. Everyone's different. For me, it was so pronounced because of my sugar issue, and I'm not alone. There are other people who don't experience it as much, but Brandon had the very similar experiences. Well, he didn't do the water fast, but as far as when going into ketosis. But yes, if you're thinking about doing it, do a water fast. And a water fast is something that you can kind of test your will, because if you're going to do any of this, the keto flu is something that you do need to kind of soldier through. And it's not really that bad. If you're prepared for it, it's really not. But a water fast within day 2 will show you how it feels when your brain clears up and all of a sudden everything is you just feel nice. You just feel good, yeah. And that was what encouraged me to go full bore with it. And
all right, so that was your advice and everything, but I'm gonna change topics here real quick,
sure.
Okay? So those of you that know Ben from the Garage Boozing podcast, he was pretty much branded as Mr. Conspiracy. So obviously a lot of this talk was about the water, what do you call it?
Water fast.
Yeah, water fast,
Carnivore.
and then the carnivore diet. Mm-hmm. But I always like to pick Ben's brain when it comes to conspiracies here. So we're going to take a little 180. And I looked up a couple conspiracies today that I thought were interesting. So I want to know your thoughts on them, okay?
Oh, I like where this is going.
So have you heard the conspiracy that, and I even got them linked up here too, so I can see exactly what they are. Where is it? That Earth had been sucked into a black hole.
No.
I'll explain it to you, okay? So it says the European Organization for Nuclear Research is at the heart of a lot of crazy conspiracy theories, including the belief that they're called CERN, I guess, or CERN.
CERN, yeah.
CERN, yeah.
Very familiar with that.
So when CERN discovered the Higgs boson, aka the God particle, in 2012.
The Hadron Collider.
Yeah, I could have said that wrong, but it inadvertently created a black hole and Earth was sucked into it. These believers think that the world ended in 2012, but we haven't realized it yet.
So yes,
How the fuck would that work? We're still alive.
So the idea there is, CERN, do you know what CERN is?
No, I just read it for like the second time.
I'm not exactly sure. They're in like Switzerland or something I'm not exactly sure.
It says it's the European Organization for Nuclear Research, but it's called CERN.
So what CERN does, they've made a particle collider, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're slamming two particles together to see at like light speed to see what happens. And the idea is to break down particles into their simplest forms by slamming them together. But what the conspiracy theory is that they're trying to open a portal to hell, which maybe they are.
That's fucking scary.
Yeah. Well,
why would they want to do that?
So if you get into...
Hey, Satan, how you doing?
Well, maybe, it could be employees. You don't know. So, yeah. So, if you believe that we are living in the Matrix, and there's a lot of things that are pointing to that now, that's a real thing, like string theory and what's the other one? That this is all just as real as we perceive it. We've talked about this.
Right.
Is the same concept is that we're in some sort of a non-organic thing that was
the
created.
Matrix.
The Matrix. Let's just call it that.
I watched that because of you.
Yeah. Well, so if that's real, and the idea that we are trying to break out of it, that we're trying to to find a crack in the seams or some sort of, or they're trying to bring something in, who knows. In the process, there's this theory that's almost been proven that there are parallel universes, like the Spider-Verse,
The multiverse.
The multiverse, yes. So that there are different versions of this, that you and I might be having this conversation, but it's my podcast and you're on it.
I just talked about this with my friend Steve, who's a ghost hunter, and he thinks that, like, a lot of that stuff is like different universes and shit.
You gotta get your head out there to get around those concepts. But the idea with CERN is that they did something that was bad enough to fuck up our timeline, and that we moved over a timeline, and that we're in a different reality now that's similar but different. And the idea that the Mandela effect.
I was
comes
just
from
gonna
it,
say.
yes, and that we remember things that, and this one's weird. Honestly, like I don't know how I feel about this one, but the Fruit of the Loom thing, like I'm old enough.
I was gonna bring that one up, the
Yeah.
cornucopia.
Yeah. So I'm old enough to remember the cornucopia, and they proved it. And so Fruit of the Loom was like in on either the troll or the weirdness, because they're like, no, that was never a thing. And I had those underwear, like, you know, everyone in my age did. And someone found an old T-shirt or something and put it on the internet and showed it, and it was exactly what we remember. But I don't know about that one. But, you know, there's a lot of the whole like Sinbad and the Aladdin, or not
Yeah,
Aladdin
the
movie or
Sinbad
whatever.
and the genie or whatever, right?
Which that one I think has been explained. Again, the idea though is that things shifted a little bit, and now all of a sudden it's a different, like the things we remember didn't actually happen, or we remember them, but we're now in a different timeline where it didn't actually happen, and it's making things complicated or
It's
confusing.
weird.
Whatever is actually happening, CERN is weird. There's something going on there.
The government's weird, man, all over the world.
Well, I don't know. This is like outside of the government though. This is funded by governments, but this is more of a, you know, this is somebody with a lot of money, or people with a lot of money building toys that, you know, that they're just, and they're having governments pitch in on it. But the concept of all of it, and also, if you know, getting into conspiracy theories, the place is just surrounded with weird symbology. There's these, you know, there's a statue of, I think, Isis out in front, or something that's
Oh, good.
yeah, all the things you'd expect for
Very good.
You know, something that's steeped in conspiracy and controversy. But yes, I have heard that one. I never heard the black hole part of it, but I think that's the same concept. That was something happened and we shifted timelines.
But I mean, this one says that the world ended in 2012. If the world fucking ended, we like, how are we? What do you mean? It's 12 years ago.
well, imagine if it did. Imagine if that was real, and like we just, like it was a blink of, like, you know, they just, we again we are that.
Oh, the world
existence
ended and we went to a different world.
Yeah,
Or
and
like,
it just like sucked us into this other one because
Oh, shit.
of maybe some law of the universe that you can't exist without your world, and we just moved over. Like, you know, like I don't know.
Okay.
But that would be the only explanation, because otherwise everyone would remember 2012 as being a terrible year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
What if we lived through the world ending and we don't remember, and then we shifted into this other universe?
Maybe.
And we're like,
We
look
watched
at this guy.
so much TV, that all this programming, we just forgot that, wait a minute, something really bad did happen.
Or the Men in Black came and they were like, Zzz.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
All right, I got another one.
What
here
else?
for
Yeah,
you.
what else you got?
So this one, where is it? Disney created Frozen as a distraction. Have you heard this one? Mm-mm. So people have long discussed the conspiracy that Walt Disney used cryogenics technology to freeze himself when he died.
I did hear that.
Even though the Disney family refutes the claim, however, a new theory is that Walt Disney Company created Frozen as a way to hack Google's search algorithm and distract consumers from information about the late Walt Disney's possible frozen procedure. So, like when people are looking up like Disney Frozen,
Gotcha. So it would throw the algorithm because of the movie, because there's so much information about them.
Right.
But why would they try? Why would they care to hide that? I heard
why would he freeze himself? He's not going to come back to life.
the story that I heard was that he had his head frozen, and that in the hopes that some point in the future that technology would be good enough to bring him back.
Oh, like his brain and everything?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, shit.
But I mean, that would, if you're assuming that your spirit hangs out in your brain.
Oh, if it's just his head, he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah, that was the theory though, or that was the story as far as what I heard. So I have heard that part of it, but no, not the Frozen movie.
It does make sense if you think about it.
There's a lot of weird things about Disney just in general, just the company and all the weird, you know, predictive programming things that they embedded into their movies that was just weirdness, just sex stuff, like, yeah, just like all kinds of and it's funny because people would laugh at you when you talked about that not too long ago, but now the Nickelodeon thing behind on the set.
Yep.
And, you know, Drake Bell, like, dude, like, so anyway, you're starting to really see these things come to the surface that people were talking about that were just dismissed as crazy conspiracy theorists. Myself used to think, you know, when people were talking, I remember going on YouTube back when YouTube was fun.
Yeah, those
Before
were the days.
Yeah, when you could just go down the deepest, darkest rabbit hole of anything you chose,
Yeah.
and it was all just, you know, left for your discernment. You could decide whether it was. But one of them was, you know, the satanic references, symbology, and things put in music videos and Disney and a lot of things. And I remember thinking like, come on, like, like, but I was interested to find out why people believe that. And so I started watching these things, and they start showing all this stuff, and then you just can't look away from it. You can't, there, Disney especially, just sex and just put into everything. And just like this idea also in the Disney movies, like, girls are basically useless without a prince to come along. And so they need to have this happily ever after. And what I equate that to is I've known a couple of girls just from growing up, from when we were kids to adulthood, who were big Disney princesses, Disney fans. Their whole room was Disney, and had a hard time coping with the real world because they were expecting their handsome prince to just come and sweep them off their feet. And they were expecting this inevitable happy ever after that never comes.
Sure.
That's just not real life. And I feel like a lot of that, again, was just the breakdown of our society. This country is just devolving in so many different ways, intelligence wise, just in morals, religion, families breaking down, and it's all purposeful. It's all a very coordinated. You want to get into some this is the biggest one I have, and this is that this country has been taken over by outside interests. That it's not our government. It's not really our government. Our government's controlled by other people. It's outside interests that want to see this country fail, and the only way to bring it down is from within, and that's by eroding the, Christianity has been stamped out, the nuclear family has been stamped out, just morality in general. Everything is, let's just go out and so now everything is just crumbling, and it's all by design. That doesn't just happen. It doesn't organically happen in a country like ours where we're built, and this isn't me blowing the horn for Christianity. If I was going to align with anything, I guess it would be close to Christianity. But my point is that most Christians are decent people, and that's what this country was founded on, and that's what made us a solid, what we were up until around the 50s is where it started to devolve. My parents' generation, the hippies, they were just like, go out and fuck everyone and do drugs and just let your kids run wild. And that's what my generation turned out, that we were the product of that. And then we were even worse to our kids. And yeah, but they say there's a, when the USSR was still a thing, when communism was, when they were trying to infiltrate the United States, and a lot of their programs were based on, all we need to do is interrupt one generation of kids. That's all it takes. And then you can bring a country down, because if you corrupt those kids and they go on to run that country, you got a bunch of assholes at the helm,
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing now. I think that's my biggest conspiracy theory. I think that this country has been purposely just eroded away in our diet and our politics, our everything, our education. I mean, think about high school and how useless, not high school, just public schools in general, and how useless it is. You learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, which are the basic things you need for life, but the rest of it, like, what do you remember from school that's helping you?
I didn't learn anything about finances, I'll tell you that.
Did you learn how to change a tire or do your taxes or like, have a meaningful conversation with your wife when like things that, life skills that, that you don't actually learn in school, but it's all just memorization. Like you have to, these certain facts you need to know, otherwise you're dumb and you're not going to make it in the real world. And like, now we have the internet. You can teach yourself whatever you want. Like you literally don't even need to go to college anymore, unless you want to be a surgeon or something that requires an actual guided skill by somebody else who's done it, that sort of thing. There's really no reason for, schools in general. And yet we still, and so what's happening now is it's just churning out these kids that are just being programmed to think, whatever they want and just have like, my own daughter, my daughter Daphne, I remember having a conversation with her on Easter Sunday a few years ago, and she was saying what every other kid says, that religion's stupid, it's just a made up story, and to believe in God's dumb. And that is coming directly from this is a narrative that's pumped into schools and into kids and TV and all these things, again, to break down, Our connection to a higher power is what keeps us strong as humans. Whether you want to call it God, Jesus, Buddha, whatever you want, when you don't have anything, then you don't have hope. You don't have, and that's a very easy to manage group of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the last one I got here for you.
Okay.
Where is it? Oh, All right, here we go. Number 3. Apollo 17 wasn't the last moon mission.
Okay.
What that says is after the success of Apollo 17 in 1972, America stopped sending astronauts to the moon. NASA claimed they had logged all the research they needed and government funding was reduced. But a movie about a fictional Apollo 18 came out, and now some believe the mission was real and ended tragically when the astronauts had a run-in with aliens.
So I love this one, and that particular conspiracy theory is part of one that I really enjoy, and whether it's, it's just because it's fantastic that I love it. But supposedly, when the original moon mission took place, the astronauts switched to a closed channel. Have you ever heard this story?
Yeah, and they went to the dark side of the moon or something, right?
No, they landed right on.
Isn't this the one where the guy's like, ah, and they're screaming in the background, or?
No, that's a meme on Facebook with the astronaut farts behind the thing and the guy grabs it.
No, it was something like there was some audio out there or something where like they're talking to the guys and they're like, oh, I said we see something.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So
Okay.
this was a transmission that was picked up by a bunch of like amateur ham radio operators, a bunch, like more than just one. So it was something that was corroborated amongst a bunch of people that they switched to a secure channel, and they said that they were looking directly at something that was sitting on the edge. So they had landed right near the edge of the Sea of Tranquility, which is just a big crater, really. There's obviously no water. And on the other side of that, I think, if I remember correctly, they were seeing what looked like a fleet of ships, or something to that effect. Something that was clearly technology, or clearly something that was not human man-made, that was something that was non-organic. And what they saw, I don't know, was ever made clear, but they were seeing something. And so home base is saying, don't talk about it, don't look at it, take your readings, do what you're supposed to do, and just obviously don't move the camera that way, and just continue as you are. And so I like that one. I believe that they did see something. There's a lot of people who don't believe we even made it to the moon, and I think we did. And I think we faked some of the footage. I think some of the video that came back was actually done in a studio just to make it look better, because we were trying to rub it in the face of the Russians. So I think we may have doctored some of it. But I do think we went to the moon, and I do think that we saw something, and I don't think we were supposed to go there. I think that's what happened. I think they were like, "You're not supposed to be here. Don't come back," and that's why we didn't. And then that other trip.
It's weird that we haven't gone back.
It is weird. And then that movie, that theory that we did go back, and then that something happened, and so they didn't report on it. Who knows? That could be possible. But I do believe that one. I think that
Dude, we're gonna see aliens. I think before we die, we're gonna see aliens.
Yeah,
they've already came out and said they're real. Like, there's no turning back now.
It would be weird if there weren't aliens.
Of course, there has to be.
We're a speck in a very vast. If we were the only ones, it would be very strange. I believe the aliens are just us, though, more advanced versions.
That's so funny because we were just talking about this at work earlier, and like me and one of my managers, we were like, yeah, what if they're like look just like us? And they're like, yo, what's up, bro?
Some of them,
how you doing, bro?
Some of them supposedly do. If you follow any of that stuff, that there's all these different species that we're aware of, and some of them look like us, but they're taller, and some of them are reptilian, like the whole reptile thing, and
Right.
some of them are the grays that we know and talk about, and that it's a very real thing. And why wouldn't it be? Like, why would we be the only things here?
With the universe being, we don't even know how big.
Yeah, that old the saying that to dip a spoon in the ocean and there's no sharks in that spoon, so there can't be any sharks in the ocean. Yeah,
That's brilliant.
yep, that's a good analogy.
Now, do you think we'll see aliens like in our lifetime?
I told you
It would scare the shit out of me. I'll tell you that.
I think we will, though. I think that a lot of us have. I told you the thing that I saw, which I believe
The spaceship, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that was our own military, but based on extraterrestrial
I
technology.
told you I saw a similar thing too. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's.
But I'm not talking just aircrafts. Like, are we gonna see fucking aliens, dude?
I don't know. The question you have to ask yourself is, if they do exist, why haven't they revealed themselves? Maybe there's some sort of agreement that they're not supposed to.
I think it would turn society upside down. Everyone would flip out.
Oh, it absolutely would. But we recover like anything else. You would come back from that. But yes, it would be chaos at first, and so it certainly makes sense to not divulge that fully.
What if they're like hot and we like breed with aliens, dude?
Maybe we already are, and we just don't know, and that's why they're not
Yeah,
telling us.
like half the humans are fucking aliens. We have no idea.
Yeah, maybe it's entirely possible. The concept that the elites are a different breed from us is a very strong common conspiracy theory, that all of our presidents, all the royals, that they're all related, and they are from some different like the Anunnaki or whatever, that they
Oh,
are,
shit.
and that they have been. That's another big conspiracy theory that very well may be true, because there's a lot of things to kind of prop it up. These, did you ever see that thing that little girl did she showed that all of our presidents have a common ancestor except for Trump, that they're all related.
Really?
Even Obama.
Wow.
Yeah, like every single president has a common ancestor, and the idea.
Adam and Eve, bro. We all do, right?
Well, sure, but,
I get what you're
like an
saying.
actual, like, somebody of like like the Rothschilds are a family, and the
Right.
Vanderbilts, and like these are all supposedly these elite families, and they're just two of many, but they're all sort of linked together, and the story is that they are different from us, and that they've been here maybe longer than us, and that they see us as just a nuisance and cattle, essentially, and that they are running the world. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep. I mean, it's possible, like
Anything's possible,
We really
man.
don't know much, and we're starting to find out that we've been lied to just in this country, that we've been lied to about a lot of things, which would, kind of set the stage for maybe we just don't know anything, and maybe we've just been wrong about everything, like our history. One of the things I definitely know we don't have time to talk about, but the whole Younger Dryas, have you ever heard of that? That there was this super devastating cataclysm that reset the earth, and it gives a possibility of a society before us that may have had high technology that got completely erased.
Like the pyramids.
Well, the pyramids, the theory is that they stuck around, that the pyramids are made out of stone and they actually survived, and that was from that. The Egyptians actually say that
Or Utopia.
you thinking of Atlantis?
Yeah. What's Utopia?
Well, Utopia is a perfect society. That's
Yeah, Atlantis
could
is what I was
could
thinking, yes.
But yes, Atlantis is, Plato, I think. Plato talked about Atlantis as a real place, not as a story. Like and that supposedly took place way before his time, but this was information that was passed down to him, and he wasn't telling it as a tall tale. He was telling it as actual historical fact. That's the way he put it forth, and it is possible. If we had a devastating, imagine if the poles shifted and all of a sudden the Earth started spinning the other direction, which literally could happen. Like
We would literally go, poof.
we would be evaporated. Everything would stop in like the speed that the Earth travels. All of a sudden, if it came to a halt, everything would keep moving at that speed. And
We would
everything
literally like hit the wall. and die.
pulverized. Yeah, the walls wouldn't exist. Nothing. Everything would just be completely, and then, a couple thousand years could pass, and every trace of us could be gone. And then all of a sudden, the Earth does what it does and just comes back online, and humans show up again.
shit.
And
Yeah, I get what
you'd
you're
never
saying.
know. You would never know. That's another one that I really theory that I love, and there's a very good possibility that it is absolutely true, and that the higher ups have known it all along, and they don't want us to know, and that they lied to us about so many. Like, so for example, see if I can do this one really quickly. This is a good one. The Sphinx. Did we talk about the Sphinx? The Sphinx is supposed to be way older than the pyramids, like
Sure.
way older. And so there's a guy, I forget his name, who's a geologist, and his specialty is water erosion and dating things by water damage based on the time, whatever, however he does it. I don't know. That's his thing. He was in Egypt at the pyramids on a vacation, not to do anything other than just, check it off the bucket list to see the pyramids. And he's looking at the Sphinx, and he's looking at what he recognizes as water damage on the Sphinx. And he's looking closer and closer, and he's starting to think, like, this couldn't have come from anything else. And there was a time where that area of Egypt, like the Nile, ran right through there, and that was all fertile, and it was all palm trees and things. So there was a time where he starts dating the Sphinx based on his practice, based on his knowledge of water erosion, and puts it back and I'm not even trying to guess what the years were, but like tens of thousands of years older than the pyramids, like way before people are even supposed to be on the planet. And so, but he's showing, like, regardless of what you're regardless of what I know about human, existence, this structure, based on everything I understand about weather erosion, is that old. So somebody else took his information, his work, and plotted a star chart. And you know how, like, you can see based on math, we know where the stars are going to be 20 years from now or 2 billion years ago. Someone plotted the time that he placed the Sphinx being created with the star charts, and it lines up perfectly with Leo. Like, it's pointing right at Leo, which is the lion,
Right.
which is the Sphinx.
Right. Jesus.
Yeah. So maybe it was built by an earlier civilization, and they got wiped out, and it survived because it was made of stone, and the face got fucked up. We know the nose broke off and all that stuff, but maybe it just sat there, and maybe they built the pyramids afterwards.
That shit gives me chills, man, because like,
Yeah, it's
obviously we
cool.
all know, like, the government and, like, everything, they have so many secrets. They know so much more than we know, you know?
do.
Like, that's the wild thing.
There was
I
a
feel like if they released a lot of the information they knew, though, like, people would just flip out.
yeah, I think me personally, I don't nothing would surprise me at this point. I feel like we just, maybe we really don't know anything, and there's so many things that we've been. But yes, I think the average person would, it would be mind blowing. It would also be devastating because everything you thought you knew is all of a sudden wrong,
Right.
and that's a hard thing. That's a for me personally. This whole voyage of getting into, all these conspiracy theories has opened me up to the possibility that maybe I have been wrong about everything. And maybe I'm wrong about all the things that I think that I was wrong about. I don't know, but I don't have any, like, if I were to find out the truth tomorrow, I think I would be much more prepared than the average person.
Sure.
I think it would be devastating for a lot of people to realize that everything we went to school for, everything your parents learned and their parents, it was all not
A
true.
lie.
Yeah. Or at least maybe not, just like there was more to it than they knew and they just chose not to tell us. That's offensive in itself, like why don't we get to know, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, and the more that they look at the whole Younger Dryas thing, that's what for me was really kind of a point. There's Graham Allen. You ever seen him on Joe Rogan? That's his thing about
Oh, yes. Yes, I have.
lost societies, and he's the one who really condenses it nicely and explains how, as we start to understand that period of time, something devastating happened to the Earth, and like 3/4 of the Earth was just leveled, and the flood, like the Noah's Ark. There's another one too. Noah's Ark is that story is told in more than just the Bible. Almost every indigenous people has a flood story, and they're all around the same time, or they can link to the same period. And there are similarities in the story, and then out of the Younger Dryas, then we start to realize that's what
Right.
it was. That's what it was, and so you start to see that these things that we just dismissed as just folklore, like Gilgamesh is in the Bible, and Gilgamesh was supposed to be like 8 feet tall, and he was supposed to be this and then they find his temple, and it was supposed to be just a fable from the Bible. It wasn't. People just dismissed it as a story, and then they find the dude. They found his. I don't know if they found remains or whatever, but they found his palace. They found his sarcophagus. I assume there was remains in it, but they found him. And this was something that we just thought was fake. There's a lot of things from the Bible that they all of a sudden realized started to line up with actual historic events that not just the Bible. The Bible's one of many. I go back to that just because living my whole life in this country, Christian, whatever, but they're all tied together, and they're
For sure.
Yeah, we all came from somewhere. We didn't just spring out of the dirt. Yep.
Hell fucking yeah, dude.
Yeah,
I
mean,
think. And go ahead.
Well, it's a much nicer thought going to sleep at night, thinking that there's more to this than just we just appeared and then we're just going to die, and then when we die, it's just blackness and nothing
Oh,
else.
of course, yeah.
There's way more to it than this.
There's so much that we don't know.
And I feel like this whole Earth and all this stuff, if it is a matrix, then it's a testing ground that we come here to strengthen ourselves, because life is hard.
Yeah, it ain't easy.
If you were to pick any point in time where humans existed, there's times where there was less disease, but life was harder. And then as life gets easier, as more conveniences start to come along, more diseases and more ways to die. So it's
Yep.
like there's a slider bar of life from the beginning to the end. So it's if you were to think about this as a place to come to learn as a soul, it's always going to be hard, no matter what point in time you pick. Even if it's later in where technology is super high, now you're dealing with all the bullshit that we have to deal with, of disease and this deception by all these things, where life is simpler in the past, but also much easier to die. People, the average life for people was 35.
It's almost like a red pill, blue pill. Which one do you want?
Yeah, but the idea too, though, that this very much could be that this is just a testing module. That Earth
sure.
in general is just some place that we might.
Well, that's the story of like heaven and hell too.
Yeah, well, maybe hell is this though. Maybe we're experiencing hell, and that is the test, that we're going through this very difficult life where it's like no matter how much we try to get ahead, there's always adversity. Like there's a couple of people on this planet that have all the money in the world and they can do whatever they want, but the rest of us are all just up against it every day. And that it in that process though, it's strengthening you. It's making you more prepared for adversity. And maybe the next step is something much cooler than this physical world where we can do cooler things like fly and, who knows, like what,
I'd like to fly. That sounds cool.
Yeah, me too. Yep. But if we could actually fly, I think that we would just get nothing done.
Yeah, I know. We'd all just be
Fly all day,
flying
yeah.
all day like a bird.
Yep.
But yeah, bro, I think we actually absolutely crushed this. We talked what is it? Water fasting.
Water fasting.
We talked water fasting, carnivore diet, conspiracies. We did it all. Damn, that was a hell of an episode. And Ben can talk, and I fucking love it too. He texted me earlier too, and he's like, I have nothing to talk about, so I hope you have topics. You know I can talk. And he fucking showed us, and I fucking love it. It's great. I love when shit like that happens because I don't have to do too much editing, which makes my life easier. But
Yeah.
man,
This
it's always
is fun. I always enjoy doing this.
Oh, it's always a blast, man. And of course, we're going to have you back here on the Choo Choo podcast. And I think that's all I got. And you got anything else here?
I've got hours of stuff.
Oh, no,
It's
I shouldn't have asked.
It's
Fuck.
the same stuff, though.
No, I'm kidding.
It's just a rehash of everything I've already talked about. But yeah, I if nothing else, I say at the end of this, that if anybody's watching this and you are struggling with depression, it might just be your diet, and it might not be something that you've been, that you need to be burdened with for the rest of your life. I changed my life, and
For the better.
Yeah, I would say that the carnivore diet's what got me on the path, but just getting the junk out of my diet was life changing.
I'm proud of you, bro.
Thank you.
You look fucking great. Like
Thank
I told you when you walked in here, I was like, holy shit, man, you look awesome.
I feel good, and it's one thing to lose weight and just kind of, and you're always, you're doing.
It's one thing to look good, but you fucking feel good.
Yeah, when you're struggling with a diet and you're always hungry and you hate the diet you're on, and I don't. I'm very, very content. So, yeah. Yep.
Love that for you, bro.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you
As
for having
always,
me.
definitely gonna have you back.
Yeah.
We love Mr. Conspiracy, Mr. Carnivore Diet himself.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Next time you have me back on the show, I'll be like 500 pounds. Like, oh, I gave up carbs.
he's got a bag of Twinkies with him. All right, nerds. We'll see you guys later.